You never know who's listening, especially when you're speaking from the heart. That's what Ava Carter learned on a rainy Thursday afternoon in a broken-down diner on the edge of nowhere. She was 26, exhausted, and ready to give up, until a stranger sat down beside her. But before we get to that moment, let's rewind just a bit, to the beginning of her journey. Because sometimes, what looks like the end is just the middle of a miracle in disguise. Ava had grown up in the small, Rust Belt town of Ellensbury, where the factories had closed, and dreams seemed to rust alongside steel. Her father, once a proud mechanic, had passed away when she was 15. Her mother worked 2 jobs just to keep their heads above water, and Ava, a quiet but imaginative girl, found her escape in ideas. Not books, not movies, ideas. She was always inventing things in her mind. Better ways to design everyday items. Better systems. Better tools. Not just for profit, but to make life easier for people like her family. She didn't go to college. Couldn't afford it. Instead, she worked as a cashier during the day and helped her mom at a diner during nights. But every spare second she had, Ava poured into a battered red notebook she kept in her backpack. That notebook was her world. Scribbled diagrams, formulas, crude sketches. Her favorite idea? A small, affordable, solar-powered device that could filter water, designed especially for struggling, rural families who lived far from city pipelines. Her mom used to call it her pipe dream. "Sweetheart," she'd say while wiping down tables, "you've got a good heart. But you need a job, not a dream." Ava would just smile, tuck the notebook back into her bag, and return to pouring coffee. But inside, her heart ached. She didn't just want to survive. She wanted to create something that mattered. Then, came the Thursday that changed everything. It had been a terrible morning. Ava's car wouldn't start. She was late to work, and after a snippy remark from her manager about being replaceable, she was sent home. She didn't argue. She just walked. In the rain. With her notebook pressed to her chest. She ended up at an old diner 2 towns over. A place where truckers stopped and locals played cards in the corner. She ordered the cheapest thing on the menu, black coffee, and sat at the last booth in the back. She didn't notice the man at first. He was older, in a navy blue coat, with silver-streaked hair and kind but tired eyes. He had entered quietly, alone, and sat down at the booth across from hers. For a while, the two sat in silence. Rain thudded against the windows. The waitress flipped through her crossword puzzle. Then Ava did something she rarely did. She started to talk. Not to him, just to herself, or so she thought. She had her notebook open and was sketching a newer version of the water purifier, muttering softly. "If I just move the filtration chamber here, then the pressure drop won't overload the valve." The man looked up. "What's that you're working on?" Ava flinched, embarrassed. "Oh, nothing. Just an idea." He smiled. "Mind if I see?" Something about his tone, gentle, genuinely curious, made her say yes. She slid the notebook across the table, suddenly nervous. She expected him to skim it and hand it back with a polite nod. Instead, he studied it. Page after page. His eyebrows lifted. "This is clever," he murmured. Ava blinked. "You think so?" He looked up. "Tell me about it." So she did. Slowly at first, then with rising confidence. She explained how the design worked, how it could be built for under $50, and how it could help households who didn't have access to clean water. The man listened without interrupting. And when she finished, she sat back, cheeks red, realizing she'd just spilled her soul to a stranger. He tapped the notebook thoughtfully. "Do you have a prototype?" "No. I mean, I've tried, but I don't have the tools or parts. I've been saving, but..." She trailed off. She didn't want to sound like she was asking for help. Because she wasn't. The man leaned back. Have you shown this to anyone else? She shook her head. No one takes it seriously. What would you do, he asked carefully, if someone did take it seriously? Ava blinked. I guess I'd try to make it real. He nodded slowly. Then he reached into his coat, pulled out a business card, and slid it across the table. Ava glanced at it. James Langford. Chairman, Langford Innovations. Her breath caught. You're James Langford, she whispered. He smiled softly. Guilty. I was driving through on my way to a board meeting in Chicago. Stopped in for coffee. And maybe, fate. She was speechless. I've been looking for new voices, he said. People with fresh ideas. Real passion. Not just Ivy League degrees or polished pitches. But someone who knows what it means to build something from nothing. He paused. Would you come to New York next week? I'd like you to present this to my team. Tears welled in Ava's eyes. She tried to speak, but nothing came out. He slid a napkin toward her. Don't say yes now, he said gently. But I think the world needs this. And I think you need someone to believe in you. A week later, Ava stood in the glistening conference room of Langford Innovations, trembling in heels borrowed from her cousin. She had no presentation slides. Just her voice and her red notebook. When she finished, there was silence. Then James spoke, "We'll fund the prototype." Ava broke down crying. Over the next year, everything changed. She worked with a team of engineers, most of whom were stunned at her original design. It was viable. More than that, it was revolutionary. Patents were filed. Field tests began. Nonprofits signed on board. The purifier was named Clarity and sold at cost across multiple rural regions in the US and South America. In just 2 years, Clarity had brought clean water to over 100,000 families. And Ava Carter? She didn't just become an inventor. She became a voice for girls with big ideas and no platform. She created scholarships for low-income inventors, opened a free innovation lab in Ellensbury, and visited schools to talk to kids who, like her, doodled solutions in their notebooks while the world told them to stop dreaming. One day, at a tech summit in Seattle, she took the stage before a crowd of thousands. She told her story. And then, at the very end, she said, "I almost gave up that day. I thought I was invisible. But someone was listening. Someone who saw beyond my clothes, my background, or my silence. And now, I get to tell every young person out there, your voice matters. Your idea matters. You matter. Never stop sharing what's in your heart. You never know who's sitting at the next table." The crowd stood. Cheering. Crying. And backstage, James Langford watched with tears in his eyes. Because the best investment he ever made, was in a girl with a red notebook and a dream. Believe in your voice. It just might change the world.